Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host Mohammed Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia. On this episode, we have a special guest, Richard Kirby. Richard is an executive coach and Vistage chair. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Richard Kirby. Richard, welcome.
Thank you, Mohammed. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who were you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Well, my career started in engineering, and I would say in the early days, I was more or less self-driven or self-inspired to achieve more. And in the middle of my career, I was downsized. I had been in sales and other roles. And how I got inspired was I ran across a person who was executive coaching. And I thought, in a way, I've been doing this with my employees my whole career. I never thought of it as a profession. So I would say I found a role model who was doing what I wanted to do next and work with individuals rather than manage individuals. So that inspired me to take that career leap out of corporate America and into a totally new profession.
What are the top three reasons why do people fail?
I think it can be a lack of confidence, overconfidence. So I think confidence is a big factor. Knowledge, certainly we only make decisions based upon the knowledge we have. And I think the third one besides confidence and knowledge would be the fear, how they relate to fear. Some people you see as fearless, like maybe he's in the news these days. Elon Musk believes he can build a car company or a rocket to take people into outer space. There, maybe you would consider them fearless. And then you have the other people who are a little bit afraid even to maybe change from their job they've been in 5 or 10 years because they feel comfortable where they're at. So the fear would be holding them back.
What is your greatest failure story? What did you learn and how did you recover from it?
I think my greatest failure story, maybe it's not my greatest, but it's certainly one that stands out, is I made a decision to move into marketing earlier in my career. And I really did not research and know what the job would be like. And I sort of just made that, as I say, I was self-driven earlier in my career. And I went into a new field I knew nothing about and didn't do the research. And that job and that professional area of marketing lasted about 8 months, 8 or 9 months. And then I immediately moved out of that. But it was my gateway into the next step. I saw sales as I don't want to be in marketing. I want to be in sales, and the distinct difference between the two. So I guess I learned that I should do more research in advance. And I also learned of a better option. And obviously the way I recovered was I went out and got my first sales job. I had no experience in sales and got a sales job.
What are your top three success secrets that others can model from?
I think one success secret would be to get a coach. I'm in coaching, so obviously it sounds self-serving, but there's a TED Talk, if you look it up, that has Bill Gates and the former CEO of Google. And they both say the topic is about how everyone needs a coach because they can see what you can't see and challenge you in ways you wouldn't challenge yourself. So I say, find a mentor or a coach. I think in corporate America, for executives, C-suite type people I work with, they've probably already learned, but many people don't recognize that having a mentor who can sort of act as your coach, and also having a sponsor that's high enough up to pull you up the organization because they have the power to make that decision. I think getting a mentor or a sponsor in corporate America is important. And the third thing I would say is to, whether those people can supply it or not, find someone who gives you inspiration, who inspires you to believe in yourself more and do more. Maybe move a little bit more toward that Elon Musk attitude than where you are today. Because I think most people, even whether they're confident or not confident, don't recognize the potential they have for themselves. And maybe that's part of the reason I got into coaching.
What motivates you within?
Earlier in my career, it was money predominantly. I didn't care about the title. I just wanted to make more money. And as I've gotten older and more mellow, I think looking toward the latter part of my life, what motivates me today in coaching, since I've gotten into coaching, is really seeing my clients succeed. That to me is the win. The win is they get a better job. If they're a C-level, if they're a corporate executive, they move into a better role with a better boss, with a better company, with more potential, and those types of things. Or if they're a business owner that I coach, it's about getting improved income. When I see they make more money and work a lot less and have more time, better work-life balance, that's what motivates me, is to get them to those points.
What is your company's motto?
So I'll be very transparent here. I worked with a marketing person several years ago, and they said, you kind of have to develop your own brand. So I guess my motto is sort of what came out of that discussion of the brand. So I call myself the K Factor, K for my last name, Kirby. And I have, because I have an engineering background, I'm a little bit different from some people in coaching. Actually, my motto or whatever came up more with a formula, which is inspirational plus analytical equals inevitable. So as I mentioned earlier, I try to inspire my clients to believe more and reach for more, but we also have to have that practical analytical side of the brain of how do you get there? What are the steps and action plan that's required? And I believe if you inspire someone and you give them the analytical tools of a plan and they execute that plan, that it's inevitable that they will be successful far more than they are today. I also have a personal, not a motto, but I have what I'd call my mission statement that I created several years ago. And this is internal from me, not external from getting marketing advice. And that is, I love everyone I can and help everyone I meet. So that's in my signature in my emails.
Who is your ideal client?
I have two ideal client sets. Traditionally, over the last 19 years since I've been executive coaching, it's been a C-suite executive who is looking to take the next step in their career. And the next step might be more money, it might be a better company, more opportunity, or whatever they want to do that they see as the next step of improvement. They would typically be a $200,000 to $400,000 a year corporate executive in the mid-sized company who wants to take that next career step. In the business area, I focus on small business, $10 million annual revenue and under. So my ideal client of a business owner would be a small business owner who owns most or all of the controlling interests, certainly in their company, and their annual revenue is between $2 and $10 million. And they want to achieve more out of their company than what they've been able to when they look back at the last 3, 5, or 10 years of the company's progress.
How do you find your ideal client?
I'm a big believer in networking, and the more people that know you, I've read some of your stuff, and I know you, like most people in business, recognize that you can only do so much yourself. You need people who know you and trust you and respect you and believe in what you do to carry that word out and refer or introduce you. So most of the time, my ideal client comes from referrals from people who've known me for several years and know what I do. And typically I have connected with those people through some sincere and long-term networking where we have a mutual interest and are helping each other, giving back. We're giving back to each other in effect.
How do you engage your ideal client?
How do I engage them? Well, normally the first point is simply conversation. With COVID, the way we've all like now have gone to more virtual and Zoom video conversations. Typically, we would have an email interchange. They would begin to understand a little bit about what I do and how I might help them from typically an introduction from someone who knows them and has recommended me. And then we get on a video call like this. We talk more deeply. And then if they want to know more detail about how I have programs, having an engineering background, one of the things people would find in working with me is I'm more analytical and methodical, I would say, than most executive coaches. So then I can sort of reveal my secret sauce of how I help them get there. And, we move the conversation further to determine whether they want to engage.
What are your well-defined products or services?
In the business coaching, predominantly, as you put up at the beginning of our conversation, I am a Vistage chair. Vistage is an over 50-year-old international coaching organization for business executives and business owners. And in that environment for business owners, Vistage has a service package, which basically you buy a membership, you get presentations from thought leaders and experts in all sorts of different areas. There's over 900 different expert speakers. They get one-on-one coaching from me, and they get a once a month roundtable, mastermind, whatever you want to call it, group session with the people in the group. So that's for business owners, a combination of group session, what you might call your virtual board of directors or peer group of business owners, the expert speakers, and the individual one-on-one coaching. That's the service offering by Vistage, and I deliver that basically as they have it outlined with my own little twists. In terms of C-level executives, that's my own program, which I've developed separately. And I have a program for the, you might say lower income, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 people, and a executive program for the higher income people, which starts with, without getting into too much detail here, it starts with a career assessment, which very few executives take the time or have the skills to understand how to do. I use an online assessment that measures 72 motivational characteristics and maps it to different roles and helps the person understand better what motivates them and why, and how to better align that with future career choices. So that's career planning. And then it goes through all the nuts and bolts all the way down to, I end with negotiation of the new package. And my most notable example there, I always like to cite because it gets people's attention, is I work with a CFO who got a $300,000 job offer from a Fortune 100 company, and we were able to negotiate the $300,000 offer to $600,000, or double. So my belief is most corporate executives, although they're good at negotiating with vendors, with maybe even with employees or other people, when they are the centerpiece of what the negotiation is about, I think many times they sell themselves short on what opportunity is available to them in terms of compensation, ownership or stock options, bonus programs, signing bonuses, benefits, all that stuff. It's a whole package. And that's kind of where my program ends for executives.
Why someone should buy from you?
I think if they're a small business owner, they should buy from me because I would lead with, despite the fact I have an engineering background, uh, my personal mission statement is love everyone I can, and I do my best to love every client and care for them as if they were a family member. So I think that's important. It's not simply a business transaction. And secondly, for small business owners, because I've been in engineering, marketing, sales, HR, and now been a coach for 19 years and coached dozens of small business owners, I have a perspective that they just almost always do not have on how to make better decisions in their small business. In terms of a corporate, a C-suite executive, I think 19 years of experience coaching uh, C-suite executives in making career moves and the success I've had, uh, in that for 19 years. There are a lot of people in coaching, not a lot of people last for 19 years doing it as their primary business. So I think I have a track record that speaks well.
How do you deliver a five-star client experience?
Okay, let's see. How do I deliver a five-star client experience? Well, I think I would go back to the caring, as I said before. I mean, that's a little different than I would say most people. I have a methodology, which we talked about before, and it's not a matter of showing up. When people think of coaching, they think of, well, how did that make you feel? How could you have done that differently? Some basic, there are coaching schools that teach coaching and they're good basic coaching skills. The difference with me is I always like to explain this. What's different, one thing that's different about me, in addition to the other things I've mentioned, is when I decided to get into coaching, I went to a person who'd been doing it 15 or 20 years successfully and said, I want to learn what you do and how you do it and what you know, so that when I start my coaching career, I've got your 15 or 20 years of knowledge. And I paid them a lot of money to coach me one-on-one. And basically, I feel my goal was to drain their brain and start my business with 15 or 20 years of knowledge and perspective. So I think the success I had in the very beginning of my executive coaching practice was due to the fact I started with experience that I had gotten from another coach. And I've built on that for 19 years. I think that makes me effective and different from most people.
How do you convert your clients into brand ambassadors?
Well, I think that, think about any business, in a way. I'm in business. I'm a one-man business. I don't have people working for me. What you see is what you get. I don't sell it and then shuffle people off to some other executive coach that I'm paying, whatever, $40 an hour and charging them 200 or 300 or whatever. So I think, first of all, the experience they get is all me, 100% me. I think my caring that I mentioned earlier makes a difference, and my focus on their success, what I've said earlier, the idea that how I measure success and what motivates me is their success. So I recently finished with a client and they said, I always felt every step of the way that you had my best interest in mind. And if you do that, and we know various good and bad experiences we've had with other companies or people, that if you always have their best interest in mind, they see that and they become more of an ambassador or referral source for me.
How do you handle rejections?
Well, I have the opportunity, and it was a good fortune that I spent over 10 years in sales before I became an executive coach. And in a way, whether an executive's trying to get a new job or a business owner has a sales force or is out there representing their company, they are in sales in a way, or they have to function as a salesperson for themselves or their company. And I have that opportunity of having had that perspective of been in 10 years in sales, gone through a lot of sales training, received a lot of objections. And so in sales training, while I don't completely feel this way emotionally, in my sales training, they taught us that, let's say you have to put out 5 or 10 proposals to get one customer. Then every time you don't get that customer, the attitude should be next, like put that behind you, move to the next one. And so I think I do that better than people who've not been in sales. And many times entrepreneurs start businesses or people go, or the executives go and interview for a job and get a Dear John letter that we're not going to proceed with you. So they get rejections. And if they haven't been in sales and had a lot of them already, it's kind of tough, but I have the perspective, hopefully, to help them a little bit with that. So I see rejection as a necessary part of the process. I wish it wasn't there, but it's there.
How did you handle an angry client?
I have had very few angry clients in 19 years. I would look at the best example, I don't know, 3 in 19 years. The one that comes to mind that was the most unpleasant experience for me was someone who, you can have a plan, but the plan has to get implemented. Otherwise, the plan is pretty useless. And I did have a client who would not execute on the plan. They would say all the right words. Yes, I know I need to do this. Okay, I'll do these things. Let's meet again next week. Let's see progress. You come back next week, they haven't done anything. And this went on for considerable period of time. And of course, they got more frustrated because they were not getting the results they wanted. And I was getting more frustrated because they weren't doing what they said they would do and what they knew they needed to do. So that is the only client in 19 years that I said, look, this isn't working for you or me. Let's agree on, I ask people to pay a retainer up front on the C-suite executive coaching. It's not working for me. It's not working for you. Let's agree on a dollar amount that I'll refund you of your retainer, and let's just part ways. And they were not happy. I was not happy, but we came to a business agreement and we went on with our lives.
We are about to move into lightning round. That means quick question and quick answer. Are you ready?
Yes.
What are you grateful for today?
I think, like many people, I'm grateful for my family. I know people who have maybe lost a child. You always think you're going to live beyond your children, and that's hard to imagine for me. I do have 3 children, and they're all alive and healthy and well, and 2 grandchildren. And so, and believe it or not, at my age, I was a widower about 6 years ago, and I have gotten engaged and will probably be married in the next few months. And so I'm also grateful, of course, for my fiance and my next life partner. And you might think of that as you move through your career. Also, what happens in some people are fortunate enough to marry someone or find a life partner or whatever and stay with them their whole life, but that's not typical. So I'm definitely grateful for my new life partner, and I'm grateful for my health. So my children, my new life partner, and my health. I have extremely good genes. I have tried to take care of myself, and I'm very healthy. And you know what they say, if you don't have your health, you don't have hardly anything, because you just, you're focused on only your health if you have problems.
How do you start your day?
I work about 50% now. At this stage of my career, I don't want to work a 40-hour week. So I start my day either if it's a networking or a business meeting, um, that starts my day, 7:30, 8 o'clock. But I've gotten, I'm in a position where I'm sort of half working and half not working. So if it's not a meeting or something like that, I typically would start my day later. I have a little bit of calm time to sort of center myself, a little bit of coffee to get some more energy flowing. And I will say that I do admire people who have some more ritual than I do. My late wife, she would get up every day and spend about an hour of quiet time. And she was probably more centered than I am. So I would definitely recommend people look into that, but it's not really my process to spend a lot of time getting my day started. I'm more hit the ground running.
How young are you?
How young am I? Well, I told you I have good health, and I always say I literally say this to anybody that we get into the conversation that I'm invincible. Now, by that I mean I'm invincible right now. One day I won't be. You don't live forever, but I believe in the power of positive self-talk, and I believe in the power of getting control of your self-talk, and uh, that whole idea of confidence and optimism and things like that make me feel young. And I think it does contribute to my health as well. And how young am I? I'm in my early 70s, but I'm in really good shape. So I feel blessed, but I also feel invincible.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
That's a good question. At this point, I am doing what I want to do. I have grown, I feel like at this age, I am grown up. So I'm doing what I want to do as far as business. On the other time, I would like to, like a lot of people, I would prefer to travel a little more than I have been. And COVID, I think a lot of us felt cooped up. So I would like to have a little more travel and be maybe more involved in some type of uh, philanthropic or something more that hands-on gives back. I'm not as interested in maybe being on a board and sort of having that antiseptic. You're looking at stuff, and I hope that doesn't sound too negative, but you're talking about concepts and decisions. I would like to do something more hands-on where I'm dealing more or less directly with the people who are getting the benefit of my volunteer work.
How do you overcome a challenge life throws at you?
Well, because I have an engineering background, I kind of went that direction. I think I always have a certain amount of the analytical, but because I was in human resources for a while and I've worked with business owners and I've been a coach where I'm working with individuals primarily for a long time, um, I kind of use that combination uh, of my formula, the K factor, inspirational plus analytical. I like to, I don't, my attitude is every problem can be solved. Now, that's not literally true, but that's the way I approach things, sort of my optimistic view. So the way I guess I would say I overcome challenges in general is at first I enter into, before I even analyze it, my assumption is this can be solved. There is some way to solve this challenge, and think about it. Um, I consider what resources are available, and and then I try to follow through and do what's necessary. But I am human. I'm like everybody else. There's some things I do procrastinate on because, and not necessarily because the challenge is too big, but it's just not interesting, or I prefer to take on other challenges first.
What is the advice you will give to younger yourself?
To younger myself. So I would say, looking at how my career and life has progressed, I would give myself the advice I try to inspire my clients, is that I would say you have a lot more potential than you think, and you need to explore more options. And I guess the one thing that I've missed in my life is I never had a mentor. I've been to myself mentor for most of my career, certainly the first half or more of it. I didn't have anybody take me under their wing. I didn't have anybody give advice. So I think, as I mentioned in the TED Talk with Bill Gates and the former CEO of Google, my advice to my younger self would be, you have a lot more potential than you realize. You need to get a coach or a mentor and have them give you some advice and help guide you a little bit, because I've been basically self-directed for the majority, especially the first half or more of my career.
Why being impactful is important to you?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, when you asked the question, what motivates me, I think that's really business-wise, relationships with my clients. That is how I judge my success. If I'm going to be successful, then I must be impactful. I must get them from point A, where they are today, as close as possible to point B, where they want to be in the future. So that's how I measure success. And if I'm not being impactful, then I really, I basically have less value to them, and I feel less successful.
What do you want to be remembered for?
That's a great question. That's one of the tougher questions you've had so far today, Mohammed. Um, I would say I would like my mission statement, which is to love everyone I can and help everyone I meet. I guess it's really tied to that. The idea that I would like to be remembered that I was a kind, caring, helpful person, which is my mission statement. Um, and that's really about it. I don't have an aspiration to build a rocket or an electric car like Elon Musk. I don't have that uh, as something that would be monumentally important to achieve in my life.
How can we support you?
Well, I think simply, when you say we, do you mean you, or do you mean the world or the universe, or what?
Universe, and people who are watching this, they probably
Yeah.
share with someone, they like it, and they.
Well, I think the way they could support me, and I would greatly appreciate any effort, would be to make people aware that I'm out there. I mean, uh, I'm not somebody who advertises on television 24/7. You turn on the TV, you see the ads. I'm an individual, and an individual in the world has to make their way as best they can. So if they hear something they like or have an interest in, the best way they could support me would be to make someone aware in their life. Let's say a small business owner who wants to be more successful or move towards selling their business, or simply improve their work-life balance, or a corporate executive who's not happy in their current role. Make them aware of me so that a conversation begins with that person. I think that's the best way they could help me. And if we engage, very likely help that person.
We are about to wrap up. I like to have a few words about your today's guest experience on the show. Here's my question: What would you say about your today's guest experience on the show?
I enjoyed it very much. I thought you had thought-provoking questions, and were a kind and well-listening host. Many hosts like to talk as much as the person who's on the show, and you seem very interested in getting the information from the guest, and not trying to be the centerpiece, but rather the facilitator to get the information out. So I appreciate that.
What would you say as the final word?
Well, I'd like to thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to have had this conversation with you. I'd just like to say that I appreciate everything that I've had so far in life. I'm actually happy some of the questions you asked reminded me of that, and if I can be of help to someone, whether they are interested in being my client or simply because my mission statement is to help everyone I meet, love everyone I can, and help everyone I meet, I'd be happy to have a conversation with anyone. They don't have to worry about getting a big sales pitch, and we don't have to engage as a client for me to make an effort to help them in some way.
Thank you so much, Richard, for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team. We really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Until the next episode, all good wishes.